Hey YouTube, I'm Jess. Welcome to a new video. For today's video, we are going to be doing an eyeshadow look. We're going to try out the Natasha Denona Retro palette together for the first time. I got this palette for Christmas and I am so excited to try it out. Natasha Denona is my favorite brand for eyeshadows and I am just so stoked to play with this color palette. One of my complaints about Natasha Denona palettes, or at least the ones I have, is that they are so warm toned, and so I am just beyond excited to have some cool tones to play with. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're just gonna hang out, we're gonna play. I will give you a review of the Natasha Denona Retro palette. So if you are interested in watching this video, then just stick around. All right, friends, here we go. So I am gonna start by really quickly priming my eyelids with the Urban Decay Primer Potion. I want to get the most out of these shadows, and priming is the way to do that. Ooh, this lip gloss that I have on is very minty. It is like burning my poor chapped lips. Okay, so the Retro palette from Natasha Denona is a 15 pan palette. It costs 87 Canadian dollars. It looks like it has a nice variety of textures. So there are some full matte colors, some more satiny finished tones, and then a couple really of the more glittery Natasha Denona shades, which are some of my favorites. Really, I'm so excited that there is this cool toned blending color or crease color here. This is called Nude Mauve. This is a color that I have just been dying for from Natasha Denona, so I'm so happy that that's in there. I also really love this color here, this like creamy white in the color Maud. Like the two most boring shades in the palette are just so exciting to me for some reason. I'm gonna start with that nice nude mauve shade, and I'm gonna put that on a fluffy blender brush. Quite a bit of kick up in the pan, which is pretty standard with Natasha Denona shadows. Normally I would do my eyeshadow before I do my foundation because I'm expecting quite a bit of fallout, but I'm filming a foundation first impression today on the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation. That video will already be up if you want to go and check it out. That's why I have my foundation done first. Normally I would do my eyes first with these shadows. So I'm just going to take Nude Mauve and go right in. It is definitely more mauve-y than nude, but I'd say Nude Mauve is a very aptly named name. Is very aptly named. Is that what I'm trying to say? So I'm taking that from the outer corner all the way to the inner corner here. It blended out a lot nicer on this side than it did on this one. This one was looking a little patchy. I wonder if maybe I didn't get enough product on my brush. Okay, really pretty. I love the mauve-y tone in that. It makes it kind of different and fun. I feel like I could just now take this light color, pop it on my lid, and be like totally done with my look for like an everyday, really simple look. So that's really great. But obviously we're not gonna do that today. I wanna start building up a little bit of color on the corners. And I'm trying to decide if I wanna go in like this more like almost peachy rosy realm, or if we wanna stick to like some of these purple-y tones over here. This color Rebellion looks really rich and beautiful. What shall we do? So many choices. Ooh, I just noticed this like silvery color. I love this palette, you guys. I'm so excited to have it. Oh gosh, okay. I think I'm gonna go into this color right here. This is the color Andy. And I've got this on a much smaller brush, and I'm gonna put that on the outer corner here and the inner corner. It's very purpley, kind of lilac-y almost. The color is quite subtle. So that's really interesting about these first two colors is normally with Natasha Denona shadows, I feel like they are so pigmented. You barely dip your brush in it and you get so much color payoff. With these first two colors, I'd say that's not actually the case. And that doesn't mean that they're bad shadows per se. It's just a little bit different than what I'm used to with her shadow formula. That's actually better for a more everyday wearable type of palette. I'd say most people don't want like a really intense, really glittery, metallic, shiny, super pigmented eyeshadow look on a day-to-day basis. Most people are looking for something a little bit softer, maybe a little bit more buildable for every day. I'm just gonna go back into Nude Mauve here and blend out the edges with that. Okay, so let's go into one of these deeper shades and see if we can get that color payoff that I'm really looking for. I'm gonna take Groove right here. Same brush, And I'm going to apply that right on the outer corner again and the inner corner, but I'm not going to blend this one out as much. So yeah, as I suspected / expected, this nice dark deep color that's supposed to be a nice dark deep color is going on. Really nice and pigmented. Definitely more like in your face color. It's such a beautiful color too. If you like purples, my eyes can look quite green with purple shadows, and I love when that happens, so I feel like I'm gonna really enjoy the way that these colors are gonna make my eyes look. I'm just really lightly blending over that with my little fluffy brush I've been using for blending. I'm just trying to keep the blending a little bit more contained than with the previous color so that we have a little bit of a gradation happening. Okay, so I'm gonna go into this creamy mod color here. Kind of looks like it's gonna have a bit of a pinky base to it. I'm gonna pop that right in the middle. Woo! Super pigmented, which is tough to do with a white. It definitely is not like a true white. It has a little bit of a purpley undertone to it, but it is quite white. And even though I was worried about fallout, there actually hasn't been too much so far. Okay, and then I'm gonna go over top of that white shade with the color Psychedelic from right in the center of the palette here. I'm gonna use my finger to start and see how that goes. Look at that. So reflective. The glitters are actually more purple than I was anticipating. I thought the colors in this one at the top here, glitz, would be more of those like purpley glitters. That's how it looks in the pan. This one looks more peachy, but they're coming off very purple on the eye. It's really subtle. The glitter is actually quite a bit more fine, like more finely milled than I was expecting. In the Natasha Denona Retro palette, there's this color at the top here that's like one of my favorite Natasha Denona shadows. It's called Orium, and it's such a beautiful top coat, and I was expecting the formula of this psychedelic shade to be like that, but it's a little bit different. The glitters are definitely more fine than the one in here that I love. I'm gonna try a little bit on a brush just to see what happens when I do that. Ooh. There's all the fallout that I was expecting. With the brush, it definitely has more of that peachy pink feel to it. It almost seems like a straight up glitter. Like it almost seems like it needs a glitter glue underneath for it to stick. I should try it with my new Makeup by Mario mixing liquid. I wonder what that would be like. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of repeat what I did on the top, on the bottom. So I'm gonna use Nude Mauve first, then Andy, and then Groove. And then I'm gonna go back in with Mod. I'm gonna use that to highlight underneath my brow. I feel like things just went very 80s very quickly with that really light white brow on a purple eye look. It's gonna give it a good blend so it's not too stark. And I'm gonna add some of that to the inner corner as well. Mod doesn't seem to have as much fallout as some of the other shades, which is interesting. Okay, so let me really quickly go ahead and throw on some liner and some mascara, and we will come back to show you the finished look. All right, lashes and liner are on. Donnie Davy posted this photo of Alexa Demi on the set of Euphoria today, and she had this liner that was so straight out, and it went from really thick to really thin, and I was just like very inspired by that for my eyeliner today. So here is the finished eye look. Final thoughts on my first impression of the Natasha Denona Retro palette. The shadows in here, at least the ones that I tried today, seem to be a little bit of a different formula than some of her other shadows. So I already own the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette, which I showed you guys already, the Natasha Denona Bronze palette. I also have one of her 5-pan palettes, and all of the shadows in the palettes that I already own seem to be a little bit more creamy, a little bit more emollient, which gives them a little bit more pigmentation. I don't know if it was just the shadows that I tried today, but this formula seems almost a little bit more dry. Something that I really love about Natasha Denona shadows is how much impact they have. You just need one swipe of your brush and you get this fully pigmented, really glittery, really metallic, or really matte and creamy swatch of color on your eye. These don't seem to do that as much, but I do think that that makes this almost a little bit more user-friendly for the everyday makeup wearer. You can dip your brush in these shadows and get them on the eye, and they're not going to be like so pigmented, so in your face, so they're a little bit easier to work with, maybe a little bit easier to blend, and they won't look as dramatic on the eye. I can't wait to try out some of the other colors in this palette to see if my opinion kind of stays the same throughout time. It's kind of the trouble with first impressions is it's hard to get an accurate first impression. So take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt because of course it is my first time using this palette. But yeah, that is how I'm feeling in this moment. I'm so happy to have some Natasha Denona shadows that are coming in this range of colors here. I mean, I could be wrong. It's not like I'm an expert in every single Natasha Denona palette, but I do feel like she was really missing some of these more cooler tones, especially in her transition shades and in her kind of brightening lid shades. So yeah, I feel like this was very necessary for her and I can't wait to play with it a little bit more. I'll definitely be doing that on this channel. So if you are new here, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out. Hello. So I wasn't actually planning on doing a wear test for my eyeshadow today, but I'm doing one for my foundation and I just sat down to do my final check-in for that and I realized that I am noticing something else about these eyeshadows that I feel like is worth mentioning in this video. It goes kind of hand in hand with what I noticed about them before. So I'd say probably the base complaint with Natasha Denona eyeshadows is that they're not very long wearing on the eye. Because they're so creamy, they're so emollient, they tend to kind of get kind of oily on the eyelid and the product breaks up fairly quickly throughout the day. They're really not a very long wear eyeshadow. Now, having said that, this situation happening on my eyes right now is very impressive for a Natasha Denona shadow. Normally by now, there would not be this much pigment, this much color left on my lids. So what I'm thinking, and I'm totally guessing, I could just completely be making this up, but I'm feeling like maybe these are a little bit drier in order to make them more long wearing. And I'm just really impressed with the way that this shadow has worn throughout the day. It's been on for 8 hours. And yeah, I do really think that comes down to the shadow formula just being a little bit drier, a little bit less creamy. I think it kind of is a little bit of a trade-off. You lose a little bit of that high impact, super pigmented, like one stroke and you're done type of look to your eyeshadow, but then you get a longer wear out of it. I don't know, I just thought it was interesting and that I would share it with you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it and I will see you in my next one. Bye you guys.